The distress signal. The command center of the Nilari Collective fell silent as High Counselor Valen's slender fingers trembled over the holographic display. One by one, the soft blue orbs representing their outer colonies flickered and vanished from the star map. Each disappearing light represented billions of lives extinguished. How many ships remain in our defense fleet? Valen asked, his translucent skin paling to an ashen gray. His second commander, Rin, checked her console. 23 vessels remain operational, Counselor. The Void Scythes have destroyed nearly 70% of our forces in just 5 planetary cycles. Valen's 4 eyes closed briefly in anguish. The Nilari had known peace for millennia. Their species had evolved on gentle worlds with mild climates and few natural threats. They built their civilization on science, arts, and diplomacy. Their ships were research vessels and exploration crafts, hastily retrofitted with defensive systems only after the Void Scythes appeared at their borders. The evacuation transports from Luminar Colony? Valen asked. None survived the blockade, Rin whispered. The room fell into deeper silence. Luminar had been home to 3 billion Nilari. Then we have no choice. Valen straightened his frail shoulders. Prepare the emergency distress beacon. Broadcast on all frequencies. The communications officer looked up in alarm. Counselor, a general distress call would reach even the forbidden zones. The Galactic Accord explicitly prohibits. I know what it prohibits, Valen interrupted, his voice finding new strength. But if we don't get help, there will be no more Nilari to face consequences. Send it. The officer worked quickly, programming the automated distress signal, a message that would travel faster than light to every corner of the galaxy. Message ready, Counselor. Valen took a deep breath. Broadcast. 16 light-years away, at the edge of what the galactic community called the Forbidden Zone, the signal reached the long-range sensors of Earth's Orbital Defense Station Sentinel. Lieutenant Commander Maya Reyes was halfway through her monitoring shift when the alert sounded. She adjusted her headset and frowned at the strange pattern pulsing on her screen. Admiral Foster, I'm picking up an unusual signal. Definitely artificial, not matching any known human transmission protocols. Admiral Darius Foster moved to her station, his weathered face reflecting in the blue glow of the monitor. Source: Procyon Sector. Maya tapped several commands. It's repeating. Some kind of automated message. Foster's expression hardened. Run it through the xenolinguistic matrix. Maya nodded, transferring the signal to the quantum computers below. Earth had been monitoring alien communications for decades, building translation algorithms despite having no direct contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. The computer worked for several minutes before text began scrolling across her screen. Sir, Maya said quietly, it's a distress call. Foster read the message, then reached for the communications panel. Get me the Security Council. Now. General Marcus Hayes stood at the head of the polished obsidian table in Sentinel Station's main conference room. The projected star map showed the location of the signal's origin. The room buzzed with urgent conversation between the 15 members of Earth's Defense Council. This could be our chance, said Defense Secretary Chen. First contact on our terms. Or a trap, countered Intelligence Director Okonkwo. Why would they suddenly call for help when they've been systematically avoiding us for centuries? Hayes studied the signal analysis. Because they're desperate. The translation is clear. They're facing extinction. Not our problem, said Economic Advisor Patel flatly. The galactic community made themselves clear when they quarantined our system and labeled us Deathworlders. Captain Elise Shaw spoke up from her seat. As commander of Earth's most advanced battleship, the Nemesis, her opinion carried weight. With respect, she said, her voice calm but firm, that's exactly why we should respond. They see us as dangerous because we evolved on a high-gravity planet with extreme climates and predators. But those same adaptations make us uniquely qualified to help. Hayes nodded slowly. The question isn't whether we can help. It's whether we should. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to President Alvarez, who had been quietly listening. "Humanity has dreamed of reaching the stars for generations," she said finally. "Now, our first contact with alien life is a cry for help. How we respond will define us to the galaxy." She looked at Hayes. "Prepare a response fleet. We're going." Hayes straightened. "Yes, Madam President." He turned to Captain Shaw. "Get the Nemesis ready. You'll lead the expedition." As the meeting disbanded, Hayes looked once more at the alien distress signal pulsing on the screen. Somewhere out there, a peaceful species was fighting for survival. They had called for help from anyone who would listen. They were about to meet the Deathworlders. The massive hangar of Sentinel Station buzzed with activity as dawn broke over Earth below. Crews worked tirelessly, loading supplies and weapons onto transport ships bound for the 5 warships chosen for the mission. Captain Elise Shaw walked along the gleaming hull of the Nemesis. At 800 meters long, the battleship was humanity's most advanced warship, built for deep space operations far from support. "Captain on deck," called her executive officer, Commander Raj Patel, as she approached the loading ramp. "At ease," Elise said. "Status report. Supplies at 98%, weapons systems fully operational, and crew at complete readiness," Raj replied, handing her a tablet. "We're ahead of schedule." Elise nodded, scanning the report. "And the Marine contingent?" "Major Zhao has them running final drills in the combat simulator. They're adapting training scenarios based on what little we know about the void scythes, which isn't nearly enough." A voice called from behind them. Elise turned to see Dr. Sophia Chen, the fleet's xenobiologist, approaching with a concerned expression. Her lab coat was wrinkled, suggesting she'd worked through the night. "Walk with me," Elise said, gesturing toward her ship. Once inside the quiet corridor, Sophia spoke in a low voice. "I've been analyzing the transmissions we intercepted over the past year. The Nilari and other species have a name for humans, the Forbidden Ones, and they call Earth the Death World." "We knew that much," Elise replied. "Yes, but I discovered why." Sophia handed her a data tablet. "According to their classification system, Earth has gravity 32% stronger than standard habitable planets, atmospheric oxygen levels they consider toxic, and temperature variations they find extreme. Not to mention our bacteria, viruses, and predator species." Elise studied the data. "So we're monsters to them, just by existing." "It gets worse," Sophia said. "The attacking force, these void scythes, they're predatory, but evolved on a world with only 1/12 of Earth's gravity. They rely on exoskeletons and technology to compensate." Elise stopped walking. "You're saying both sides of this conflict are physically weaker than humans?" "Significantly. The Nilari evolved as peaceful filter feeders on garden worlds. The void scythes are predators, but would be crushed by Earth's gravity without their support suits." A slow smile spread across Elise's face. "Thank you, Sophia. This changes our approach entirely." 2 hours later, the Security Council reconvened for a final briefing before launch. Admiral Foster displayed the latest intelligence on the main screen. "The response fleet will consist of 5 ships," he explained. "The Nemesis will lead, with the cruisers Valiant, Defiant, and Intrepid providing support. The medical vessel Mercy will handle evacuation and relief operations." General Hayes frowned. "Only 5 ships. The void scythes reportedly have hundreds." "Quality over quantity," Elise replied. "Based on new intelligence, we believe our ships and personnel can withstand conditions that would cripple both sides in this conflict." Dr. Chen stepped forward. "The aliens were dealing with evolved on worlds with lower gravity, milder climates, and fewer pathogens. Humans are naturally adapted to conditions they find extreme. In other words," said Commander Patel, "we're the monsters under their beds." "Not monsters," Foster corrected. "Potential saviors. But we need to understand how we'll be perceived." Elise addressed the room. "When we arrive, we'll face beings who fear us simply because of where we evolved. But that fear can work in our favor if used properly. President Alvarez stood. This mission has 3 objectives. Establish first contact, protect the Nilari from genocide, and secure humanity's place in the galactic community. The manner in which you accomplish these goals is up to you, Captain Shaw. Elise nodded. We'll be ready to launch in 1 hour. As the meeting ended, Elise found herself standing beside Dr. Chen at the observation window. Below them, Earth rotated slowly, blue oceans and green continents shimmering in sunlight. Strange, isn't it? Sophia said quietly. The world that made us so tough is beautiful from up here. Elise watched as the first rays of dawn spread across North America. Let's hope we remember that when we're out there. Being strong doesn't mean we can't also be kind. An hour later, the 5 ships of humanity's first contact fleet rose from Earth orbit, accelerating toward the jump point that would take them to answer an alien cry for help. Deathworlders unleashed. The 5 ships of Earth's response fleet moved through the darkness of hyperspace, a swirling tunnel of blue-black energy that allowed them to travel faster than light. Inside the Nemesis's bridge, Captain Elise Shaw watched the ship's chronometer count down the remaining travel time. 6 hours until we reach Nilari space, she said. How are the crew holding up? Lieutenant Rivera, her communications specialist, looked up from his console. Morale is high, Captain. Everyone understands what's at stake. Elise nodded and turned to the tactical display where Major Zhao was running combat simulations. The Marine commander's face was focused as she moved virtual troops across a battlefield. Any insights, Major? Zhao gestured to the display. Based on what we know about the Void Scythes, they rely heavily on technology to compensate for their physical limitations. Their battle tactics are rigid, designed around their exoskeletons and support systems. And how do we counter that? Zhao smiled. Unpredictability. Humans are naturally adaptable. We can function in environments that would shut down their systems. Plus, we've simulated combat in the lower gravity we'll encounter. Our Marines can move 3 times faster than on Earth. Good, Elise said. Keep running the drills. She left the bridge and made her way to engineering, where Chief Engineer Torres was working with his team on the ship's weapon systems. Captain, Torres greeted her, wiping sweat from his forehead. At just 35, he was considered the best weapons engineer in the fleet. We've made some adjustments based on the alien technology data. He pointed to a disassembled rail gun. We've calibrated our weapons for precision rather than raw power. The Void Scythe ships have excellent shields but poor structural integrity. One well-placed shot could disable a ship twice our size. Will it be enough? Elise asked. We're still outnumbered. Numbers aren't everything, Torres said with confidence. Their ships are designed for fights against similar opponents. We're something new entirely. In the medical bay, Dr. Chen carefully studied tissue samples under a microscope. The ship's AI had created synthetic versions of Nilari and Void Scythe biology based on the limited data available. Fascinating, she muttered as Elise entered. What have you found? Elise asked. Sophia looked up. The Nilari have almost no immune system. Their home planets have so few pathogens that they never evolved one. And the Void Scythes. She pointed to another slide. Their cellular structure would collapse under Earth's gravity. They'd literally be crushed by their own weight. Is that useful to us? Sophia nodded. Very. I'm developing non-lethal countermeasures based on this. We could potentially incapacitate Void Scythe troops with simple Earth bacteria that are harmless to humans. Perfect, Elise said. We want to stop them, not commit genocide. As she left the medical bay, the ship's alarm sounded. Bridge to Captain, came Commander Patel's voice over the comm. We're approaching Nilari space. Long-range sensors have detected a battle in progress. Elise hurried back to the bridge. The main view screen showed the swirling colors of hyperspace beginning to fade as they prepared to return to normal space. Battle stations, she ordered. All hands prepare for combat. Signal the fleet to deploy in attack formation Delta. The crew moved with practiced efficiency as the Nemesis and its sister ships dropped out of hyperspace into chaos. Before them floated the azure jewel of Nilara Prime, the Nilari homeworld. Surrounding it was a massive fleet of angular black ships, the Void Scythes. They were bombarding a thin defensive line of smaller, elegant vessels desperately trying to protect their planet. "Open a channel to all ships," Elise commanded. "This is Captain Elise Shaw of the Earth vessel Nemesis. We received your distress call and have come to render assistance." For a moment, there was silence. Then, a weak transmission came through. "Earth vessel, this is High Counselor Valen of the Nilari Collective. You're from the Forbidden Zone. You're Deathworlders." "We are," Elise replied simply. "And we're here to help." There was another pause. "We accept your assistance with gratitude." Valen finally responded, his voice trembling. "But beware, the Void Scythes show no mercy." Elisa's eyes hardened as she watched a Nilari ship disintegrate under enemy fire. "Neither do we when protecting the innocent," she said. "Nemesis out." She turned to her tactical officer. "Analysis of enemy fleet. 127 vessels, Captain. Their flagship is that massive dreadnought at the center of their formation. Energy readings suggest they're charging weapons for a planetary bombardment." Elise studied the tactical display. "Target the engines of their support ships with precision fire. Coordinate with the Valiant and Defiant to flank their main battle group. The Intrepid will provide covering fire while the Mercy begins evacuating damaged Nilari vessels." "And us, Captain?" Commander Patel asked. Elise's lips curved into a tight smile. "We're going straight for their flagship." The human fleet moved with a speed and coordination that momentarily stunned both the Nilari and Void Scythes. The Earth vessels were smaller than the Void Scythe dreadnoughts, but moved with incredible agility, their hulls designed to withstand punishing forces that would tear apart the alien ships. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Elise watched as her tactical plan unfolded. Human precision weapons targeted the weakest points in the Void Scythe vessels, points that the Nilari could never exploit due to their more cautious, defensive approach to warfare. "Multiple enemy vessels disabled, Captain," reported the tactical officer. "The Valiant and Defiant have broken through their forward line." "Major Zhao," Elise called. "Prepare boarding parties." Minutes later, armored shuttles launched from the Nemesis, carrying teams of human marines toward the disabled Void Scythe vessels. Inside their environmental suits, the humans moved with ease in the lower gravity, their natural strength giving them a devastating advantage in close-quarters combat. Major Lin Zhao led the first team into the enemy flagship. The Void Scythes, encased in their mechanical exoskeletons, fired energy weapons down the corridors, but the humans moved with a speed and agility that the aliens couldn't match. "They're not used to fighting opponents who can outmaneuver them," Zhao reported back to the Nemesis. "Their tactics rely on overwhelming force, not adaptability." Meanwhile, the Nemesis engaged the Void Scythe flagship directly. The massive alien vessel unleashed devastating energy beams, but the Earth ship's innovative shield technology, combined with evasive maneuvers that would crush any alien pilot, allowed it to close the distance. "Engineering to bridge," came Torres's voice. "Their shields are cycling at predictable intervals. There's a 3-second window where their aft section is vulnerable. Tactical, time your shots accordingly," Elise ordered. "Fire everything we have during that window." The Nemesis unleashed its main batteries at precisely the right moment. The concentrated fire pierced the enemy flagship shields, striking its propulsion systems. On the bridge of the Void Scythe command ship, Supreme Hunter Krazak watched in disbelief as the human vessels tore through his fleet. His 6 limbs twitched nervously within his life support exoskeleton. "Impossible," he hissed. "These creatures, they move like predators, not civilized beings." His science officer's voice quavered. "Supreme Hunter, our scans indicate they evolved on a high-gravity world with extreme atmospheric conditions. They're Deathworlders. The myths are true. Krasek whispered. The Forbidden Ones have come. The bridge shuddered as another volley from the Nemesis struck home. We've lost propulsion, screamed his engineer, and our boarding defenses have been breached. The massive doors to the bridge exploded inward, and human Marines poured through. The void scythes fired desperately, but the humans moved too quickly, dodging energy bolts and closing to melee range where the aliens' frail bodies, even within their exoskeletons, were no match for human strength. Major Zhao approached the command platform, where Krasek stood frozen in shock. In the name of Earth and the Nilari people, she said, your genocide ends today. 3 days later, Captain Elise Shaw stood in the Great Hall of the Nilari High Council. The elegant chamber was filled with representatives from the Nilari Collective, and surprisingly, emissaries from a dozen other alien civilizations who had arrived after hearing of humanity's intervention. High Counselor Valen, still appearing shaken by the events, addressed the assembly. For centuries, we believed the inhabitants of high-gravity worlds were too dangerous to engage with, that their evolutionary path had made them incompatible with galactic civilization. We were wrong. He turned to Elise. The people of Earth could have ignored our plea. Instead, they came to our aid, using their natural abilities we feared, to save us. An emissary from a neighboring system stood. The quarantine of Earth was based on fear, not wisdom. I propose it be lifted immediately. The chamber filled with sounds of agreement. Elise stepped forward when invited to speak. Earth has waited generations for this moment, she said, not to conquer, not to dominate, but to join you among the stars. She looked around at the alien faces, so different from human, yet sharing the same fundamental desire for peace and connection. We may be Deathworlders, she continued, evolved in conditions you find harsh and extreme. But that same evolution gave us the strength and adaptability to help when you needed it most. Valen approached her, extending 4 slender fingers in the Nilari gesture of friendship. Captain Shaw, the Nilari Collective formally requests to establish diplomatic relations with Earth. Moreover, we propose the creation of a mutual defense pact. It seems the galaxy needs Deathworlders after all. Elise took his hand gently, mindful of her strength. On behalf of Earth, I accept. This is just the beginning of what we can accomplish together. As the assembly erupted in approval, Elise looked out through the chamber's crystal dome at the stars above. Humanity had finally found its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors or monsters, but as protectors. The Deathworlders had come in peace, but when peace was threatened, they had proven that sometimes evolution on a harsh world created exactly the allies a gentler civilization needed.